Hi, I'm John Zander from Panspending Studios and CelebrateGeek.com, and today we're proud to present independent author Grivante reading from his book, The Z Brothers, Zombie Exterminators. If you like what you hear, you can buy the full book at bit.ly/zbros. Again, we'd like to give our special thanks to Aunties Bookstore in downtown Spokane, who were kind enough to allow us to film this event in their venue.
All right, so I'm going to be reading from the beginning of my book tonight. It's the introduction, the first few chapters. My book is called The Z Brothers, Zombie Exterminators, and I consider it comedic horror, so hopefully you will be horrified and laughing while you are scared. Part 1, Mr. Pembleton. I'm sorry, sir. It doesn't appear to be a rodent problem. What do you mean, not rodents? All that scratching and scurrying all night long. What kind of bugs can be making that kind of racket? The man from the pest control company looked down and rubbed his name tag. Bert, with his right hand. Sir, do you know if this area may have once been home to a graveyard? Mr. Pembleton's brow furrowed. What kind of question was this? Well, yeah, this whole area was once Pacatini tribal lands. My neighbor Shirley told me there are small family plots buried all over. Just last week, the Hembrooks over on Lancaster dug up a pile of bones in some kind of amulet thingy. They threw it all out in the trash. Bones in their backyard. Can you believe it? Mr. Pembleton stopped there, a sparkle of realization dawning. Wait, are you trying to tell me there are bones down there and a dog or some feral cat got in them? Bert's eyes widened at that. No, sir. From the way the earth is disturbed and the scratch marks on the floor joists and foundation, I would say you have a zombie infestation. Mr. Pembleton blinked twice, rubbed his gray and black whiskered jaw, and adjusted his false teeth, then asked, How much is that gonna cost? I don't know, sir. We don't handle zombies. We only make living things dead, not, dead things dead. Who does, then? Bert, sweating a little from his brow, broke his stance and started checking his pockets. We, technically aren't supposed to recommend anyone, but, there are these brothers. They have a little side business, and I've got their card here somewhere. With the apocalypse coming, there's been more and more of a need for their services. He was now flipping through his wallet, his pockets having revealed nothing but lint and old cough drop wrappers. He ate them constantly to keep the smell of the poisons he used from making his nose itch. Which apocalypse is that? Was it that Nostra dumbass fella again? He predicted Hitler and the abomination of our country. Or wait, I saw one on TV the other day that said George Clooney was the Antichrist, and if he sees his reflection in the mirror at the Vatican, Bert pulled a tattered business card from his wallet and thrust it at Mr. Pembleton, interrupting his rant. Here you go. Z Brothers, Zombie Exterminators. Jonah and Judas, Owner-Operators. 888-867-5309. Ask for Jenny. We keep the dead, dead. Bert made his way to the door. Mr. Pembleton looked up from the card. Are these guys any good? Bert's hand was on the front doorknob. Well, I don't know, sir. No one I've given their card to has ever called to tell me. I just know they're a bit different. He twisted the knob and swung the door open. Mr. Pembleton opened his mouth to speak. Best of luck, Mr. P. No charge for the inspection. Have a pest-free day. Slam! Bert scurried down the drive, popping a cough drop into his mouth and breathing in the sweet menthol, never hearing but knowing exactly what Mr. Pembleton had wanted to ask. What do you mean, different? Inside, Mr. Pembleton's eyes drifted back to the card. He shambled off to find his phone, muttering under his breath. Different, huh? This better not cost too much. Part 2, The Z Brothers. Ring! Z Brothers, a male voice answered. How can we help you? Yes, is Jenny available? Laughter erupted from the other end so loud that even though Mr. Pembleton's hearing wasn't the best, he had to hold the phone away from his ear until it died down. This is Judas, owner. How? Ow! There was a clambering and clamoring on the other end for a moment, then a different voice came back on the phone. This is Jonah, owner of Z Brothers, Zombie Exterminators. How can I help you? My name is Larry Pembleton. I live at 547 Westerly Drive. The pest control man just left, and he gave me your card. He thinks I might have a zombie infestation." "Mm-hmm," the voice on the other end answered. "Just a minute, Mr. Pembleton." For a moment, all Mr. Pembleton could hear were muffled voices as it sounded like someone had placed their hand over the receiver. "Sir," the second voice came back on the line. "Okay, what else can you tell me?" "Well, Bert asked if the house was built over any kind of cemetery." "And is it?" "Well, yes, it is. Most of this development was built over the old Pacatini Reservation for the new county dump and our fabulous gated community of Winter Oaks. Progress, you know. The Pacatinis all died off years ago." "And you said Bert? From Pest Be Gone?" "Yeah, that's what his tag said." Mr. Pembleton was getting annoyed. "Look, mister, how much is this going to cost?" "Mr. Pembleton, I need you to listen really closely to me. The infestation, is it in the crawl space under your house? Why, does that cost extra?" "No, look, it's almost sundown. I need you to go and make sure that Bert closed and locked the cover to your crawl space." All right. Mr. Pembleton grumbled as he got up out of his chair. "But seriously, how much is this going to cost me?" He shuffled off down the hall to the closet. Behind the closed door, the hatch to the crawl space was indeed open. A skeletal hand of bone and decayed flesh fumbled around looking for leverage to lift itself. "We'll talk price in a minute, Mr. Pembleton. Let's just make sure that thing is locked up tight for now. These native zombie types generally only rise after sundown, and they're usually searching for or upset about something. Can you tell me if you've been doing any yard work lately and maybe disturbed some bones?" Mr. Pembleton came to a stop just outside the closet door. "Now listen here, mister. I don't know what kind of negotiation tactics you're playing at, but all these games ain't gonna make me do anything more till you give me a price. And I ain't done no landscaping. It was the Hembrooks over on Lancaster. If they were the ones that caused this, then they the ones that need to be paying for it. I don't care if he's president of the Homeowners Association and whatnot." Mr. Pembleton was full on shouting now. His hand rested on the knob and he pulled the door open. "I keep my grass cut just like it says in our covenants. And if he up and disturbs some kind of zombie omelet, he's gonna pay." "Zombie omelet?" Jonah asked. "Ah!" Mr. Pembleton fell over backwards, more in fright than from the weight of the small frame lunging onto him. The phone fell from his grasp, and his screams were soon replaced by the rending of flesh and gurgling of blood. Then a low, guttural moan. "Omelet." Jonah set the phone down. His brother raised his eyebrows as he watched him. "Well, we got a customer or not?" Jonah sighed, his lips flapping as he did so. "No, I'm pretty sure he just died." "What? I knew you should have let me talk to him." Judas's head bounced with each word, spit flying. Jonah glared at his brother. "Bert left the crawl space open when he left." "Bert from Pest Be Gone?" "Yeah, that Bert." "Well, shit. What we gonna do now, Jonah?" Jonah shook his head. "Load up Sasha. We're gonna have to go clean this up before it gets out of hand." Judas stood, grabbing a shotgun from the couch cushion next to him. "Wait a minute. What was that about a zombie omelet? Did that guy have some sort of weird cannibal fetish?" Jonah shrugged. "I've no idea, but don't forget to feed Fido before we go." Part 3. Winter Oaks. Sasha, the brothers' 1950s Chevy pickup truck, tooled down the road, a small stream of smoke puffing from Jonah's open window as he dragged and released on his pipe. On the other side of the bench seat, past the giant 8-ball gear shifter, Judas sat with his own window down, lip bulging, and his door covered in dark, gooey strands of tobacco spit. The engine rumbled like gentle thunder behind the sounds of Jonah's classical music CD. "Really, Jonah? Didn't we listen to this last time?" Jonah puffed away on his pipe that he held in his 3-fingered left hand, the gear shift in his right, and his knee guiding the wheel. He said nothing. Judas slipped his hand along the dash toward the eject button. Before he could depress it, Jonah's hand flew off the vibrating shifter and smashed his brother's hand against the dash. Driver's choice. Ow! Judas let out a scream as his brother pressed harder into his hand, illustrating the point. But you always drive! Brown spittle oozed into the whiskers on his chin. You haven't passed your driving test. Well, that thing ain't fair. It's got all them choices to make and signs to memorize. Jonah raised his left hand. The pipe pinched between his thumb and pointer finger, wiggling his middle finger and the two tiny stumps where his index and pinky used to be. Life ain't fair, Judas. Judas pulled his hand away and sulked. They drove in silence for a few minutes. Are we there yet? Judas asked. No, we had to go around. There was some sort of taco truck accident on the highway between Winter Oaks and the new dump. Grease all over the road. Where did you hear that? It was on the news before we left. Humph. Judas slunk down in his seat, rubbing the palm of his hand. That hurt, Jonah. Jonah turned and glared at his younger brother. Well, so did this. He waved the two stumps on his left hand at Judas and then shoved his pipe halfway into his mouth, but feeling stubborn, he left it there as they turned to the road leading up to Winter Oaks. They pulled to a stop just before the large metal gate, which closed off the elitist community of Winter Oaks from the rest of the world. The gate was black iron with large spikes at the top and a stand of metal trees that met at the middle above the words Winter Oaks. Aside from a number of small pedestrian entry gates that dotted the brick and mortar barrier around the community, this was the only real entrance. How are we going to get in there, Jonah? Jonah looked down at the little keypad outside his window, set his pipe on the seat next to him, and reached over and typed in the numbers 0420. Nothing happened. He sat, thought for a moment, and then typed in 4 more numbers. Still nothing. Jonah? Yeah. Did you try 0420? Yes. Didn't work? Jonah turned to look at Judas. He looked at the closed gate, then back at his brother and raised his eyebrows. Oh, right. Judas turned his head and looked out the window, slipping a finger in his lip and clearing out the black chunks of chew and tossing them on the pavement. His lip continued to stick out even when empty. Jonah kept punching 4-digit combinations into the box to no avail. Jonah? Yes, Judas, I tried our birth year too. No, Jonah, look over there. Judas pointed out the window and through the gate to a yard a couple of blocks up the road. Jonah leaned forward, his left arm still dangling out the window. There was a shadowy shape moving slowly across the yard of a cookie-cutter ranch house. Shit. We gotta get in there, Jonah. They could be everywhere. He slipped a new fat wad of chewing tobacco into his lip and lifted the shotgun off his lap. Jonah turned back to the box and screamed as a cold hand wrapped around his dangling arm. The woman standing there let go and jumped away, tripping over the leash of the small dog at her feet. She stumbled backward until her startled momentum carried her ass over tea kettle onto a small grassy knoll next to the brick wall. Oh shit! Oh shit! Judas, having only heard his brother scream and seeing the flailing body fall away, scrambled. Swinging the shotgun up, he smacked himself in the face with the barrel, knocking the fresh wad of chewing tobacco free and down his throat. Jonah jettisoned himself from the truck and rushed to offer the woman a hand. Are you all right, miss? The woman's shiny strawberry blonde hair covered her face. She blew it up and out of the way as she leaned forward and giggled. Jonah's mouth fell open and his heart pounded. He self-consciously stuck his 3-fingered left hand into the back pocket of his jeans. Judas, meanwhile, coughing and spitting tobacco from his mouth, got out of the truck, shotgun in hand, and made his way around the back. He, too, stopped short, heart pounding, when he saw the beautiful woman lying on the ground. Sasha? He shouted. Then his face turned green and he doubled over to his knees. Ugh. The woman looked at the enamored faces of the brothers as her giggling died down and was overrun by her dog's yelping bark. Shh, pup, she said. Then her face wrinkled as Judas began to vomit. Oh, my. Jonah stretched out his right arm, offering his good hand. May I help you up, please? She glanced at his hand and took it, then turned back to look at Judas. Why did he call me Sasha and then throw up all over the place? Jonah pulled her up from the ground. As she came to her feet, she stumbled, a little light-headed, and he pulled his other hand free to steady her. She saw his hand and grabbed it with her own, examining the missing fingers. Oh no, what happened? He pulled his hand away, but her grip held firm, and he ended up pulling her into an almost full embrace against his chest. It was an on-the-job accident, he said, standing tall and trying to regain his composure. He stepped out of the embrace and answered her other questions. He called you Sasha because you look exactly like the Russian supermodel Sasha Borinvisky. We have her calendar on the wall of our garage. I have no idea why that made him throw up. He turned away from her and stepped toward his younger brother. Judas, what's the matter? Judas looked up at the two of them, long, gooey strands littered with black chunks of tobacco hung from his open mouth. He repositioned himself, putting the shotgun across his knees, and groaned. JJ said, looking a little worried, do you guys have plans to abduct Sasha the supermodel? What's with the shotgun? Judas spat. We're exterminators. She laughed. What do you exterminate with a shotgun? What can't we? Answered Judas. It just doesn't seem like it would be very effective against ants or even cockroaches, though I've seen some big enough to warrant the heavy artillery. We don't do bugs, ma'am, Jonah answered. We deal with larger problems. He handed her a card. No shit? Zombie exterminators? Judas had some stability in his stomach and stood taller, nodding. Yes, that's us. We're the Z brothers, Judas and Jonah.